Welcome to Tuesday, September 11th, 2018 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and I'll start roll call on that.
Raj Shivik,
Sean Peterson, John Ryder.
Carla Stratton.
Mary Ann Jim, Sonia Chapman.
There are no alternates to appoint. So we're starting with public hearings. Item A, Z 2018-1395 of Plainfield Materials, LLC, requesting special permit for gravel screening on property located on Plainfield Pike Rd, Route 14A, Plainfield, map 17, lot 36, lot 68 and 68A, Industrial 1 zoning district. And I will appoint Kathy Harris for Lindsay.
Thank you for the record. My name is Noel Tito, Kelly Engineering Associates, and a licensed professional engineer, and I'm representing Plainfield Materials here this evening. What you have before you is a proposal to create a gravel screening facility on a approximately 5.8 acre site that consists of two separate parcels. This project, this property was previously approved for two separate industrial sites. The previous general approval that we received showed two separate buildings with paid parking areas and so forth. What we've actually done is reduce the footprint of the building and the pavement itself. Substantially, the front lot shown as lot number 68, 2.17 acres. We'll have a 2,500 square foot proposed office and garage building, scale house and a scale, with some paved parking. Toward the back of the property, lot number 68A, which is comprised of 3.75 acres, will be proposed to be utilized for a gravel screening facility. There will be some excavation on the site at the start in order to prep the site for the proposed use. We anticipate somewhere between 12 to 14,000 yards of material on the site that will be moved about and excavated out on the site. That is the limit of the actual gravel excavation that will occur on the site itself. Once that initial grading is completed, then the facility will be used for processing. The owner of the facility will substantially use it for his own projects. They typically have extra material or substantial material for a lot of the projects they do that they have to dispose of. So that material will be brought to this site for processing to create different gravel products. Not to say that they won't import it from other places as well, but I say substantially the bulk of the business will be for the applicant's business itself and for the projects that they do. We are showing screening along the front of the site, the side of the site, and to the rear of the site. The bulk of the grading will be in the back. There's actually going to have to be some filling in the front of the property in order to make the grades work properly and to create a stormwater infiltration basin in that area. Being the gravelly type soils that they are, this basin, along with a secondary infiltration basin along the front and some swales along the edges of the paved driveway, will create conditions where we're actually reducing the peak runoff rates from the site compared to what actually happened right now. We've excavated a number of test pits throughout the site, some of them associated with the Northeast District Department of Health for the septic system locations, and we've also excavated 4 other ones throughout the site to try and get a good balance or a good idea of what the materials are like out here. We've gone down as deep as 12 feet in a couple of the areas where we've had some very good sands and gravels on the site. Essentially, these 12-foot depths where you've got the sides of the excavations just caving in on themselves. It's very well drained, sands and gravels. In accordance with the regulations, we have to remain about 4 feet above the water table. This area here where the main processing and screening area is shown, we're going to be doing anywhere from like 4 to 6 foot cuts here. This is where we went down 8 feet with absolutely no indication of any groundwater whatsoever. The Northeast District Department of Health test pits also indicate the same. So there is substantial evidence that we are not going to be a groundwater table itself. Trucks to and from the site are going to use 14A. We anticipate that the bulk of the traffic will be coming from the west, from Route 395, and when they leave, they'll be going back in the same direction. Hours of operation, proposed hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. There will not be any activity on site on Sundays or holidays. This is not to say that this is always going to happen. Now, there may be periods of time when they're in the middle of the project where you may have activity here for a week or two at a time. There may be other times where there's no activity at all for several weeks if projects aren't going on. They don't anticipate that this is going to be an everyday continual activity from 7 to 5 every day and then 8 to 1 o'clock on a Saturday. The facility proposes to utilize 2 screens. They'll have the associated conveyors, 1 loader, 1 excavator, and 2 dump trucks. Not by any means a large operation of this site. A lot of these gravel facilities typically take up tens or even hundreds of acres. We're really talking about the actual area where the activity is going to be taking place is just slightly over 2 acres. We are proposing a security gate at the front of the site, which is shown on the plans. That'll be a locked gate. Be kept locked and closed during off hours and during days when there's no activity on the site. We are seeking a couple of the waivers. Since this is not a proposed gravel operation, we request the Commission waive the need for a performance bond. However, we have submitted a proposal for an erosion and sedimentation control bond and a site restoration bond. This we feel will be associated with installing the silt fence at the beginning of the project and getting these 2 areas where the grading is shown stabilized by the application of topsoil and seed. So we have provided that for your use. We do also request a waiver of section 1232 4B7, showing the property lines and streets within 200 feet of the site. The names and owners of the abutting property owners were included with the application, and those owners were also notified by certified mail, and the receipts were submitted to the town. As I said before, drainage from the site is going to pretty much flow in the direction that it does currently. We are going to have some reductions in the drainage. Right now we have sort of a little bit of a hill right here where you can see the demarcation here where all of this drainage kind of goes off in this direction. By flattening this out, we're actually reducing the drainage area that flows toward the Leo properties, and the peak runoff in that direction will be reduced. Runoff from the paved areas and from the driveway will be directed to the stormwater infiltration basin that we have at the front of the site. And then this small part of the driveway here that goes beyond the pavement will be directed toward the small basin in the front here. There's a low-level outlet that goes to an impact basin on the east side of the driveway and ultimately to the existing work that flows to the north below Route 14A. The Connecticut DOT previously approved the drainage for this. They also previously approved the driveway. The curb cut was installed in accordance with the previous application. No further work with the DOT right away is going to be required for this project to move forward. The location of the on-site well is shown on the plans. We are proposing a well right here. We are not aware of any wells being within 100 feet. We have undeveloped properties to the rear, and the well for the Krasuski property is well over 100 feet from the proposed operation itself. All this operation is We're 100 feet from the property line, so we don't impact anyone that might be associated with that particular property. I did discuss briefly the depth of groundwater, the test pits that were excavated here on the site. One of the things per section 1212 4D16 regarding the depth of groundwater requires groundwater monitoring on the site. What we are asking is a waiver of that due to the fact that we do have substantial evidence that we're well above the water table on this site. We have shown the locations of the test pits excavated on July 28, 2015 by the Norwich Department of Health, and excavated in April under the observation of building engineering. So those 8 test pit locations are shown distributed pretty uniformly throughout the site. One of the review comments that was brought up is this piece of equipment was a little closer than 100 feet from the property line, so we have repositioned that to show that we can achieve that 100-foot separation. We can even be a little bit further if necessary. We've got plenty of room to make sure that all the operations themselves are 100 feet from the property line. Per 1232.7F, sufficient topsoil will be kept on the site to restore the slopes after the final grading is completed. We have noted that on the plans that provide topsoil and finished slopes in this area and in this area as well. These will be the 2 areas that will be vegetated as the site is developed. The typical flow of traffic through the site would be for a vehicle or truck to come in the main entrance, go to the scale, whether they were bringing material to the scale or picking up material back here and then going to the scale. We have sort of a circular pattern on site of the traffic that can be utilized, whether a truck is moving to the scale this way or they're coming back in the other direction. We don't really anticipate any conflicts in the traffic itself. This will not be a high traffic type facility that will have a number of trucks. Even at the maximum of 220 trucks per day, really we're looking at about maybe 2 trucks per hour at that to come to the site and utilize it. The final grading has been modified. Some of the grading up here seems to be a little bit steeper than the 40% that the town allowed, so we graded this out to 3-to-1. Which is a 33% slope, so we fall well within the requirements that the town has. We have provided a suggested bond estimate for the erosion sedimentation controls, and per recommendations of Ryan Graves, we have modified the plantings accordingly. We originally showed white pines in some areas and also some arborvitae. We had a concern with the arborvitae and the deer. There are quote-unquote deer-proof arborvitae around these days. I think they probably don't really exist. So along the frontage of the site, to screen it from Route 14A, we're showing blue spruce, and the hemlock along the Krasuski property, and then hemlock along the back of the property itself to provide some screening back there. So we have received approval from the Northeast District Department of Health for the septic system. We submitted that to Ryan for use. I do have a copy of it if necessary, if for some reason we didn't provide that information to the commission. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience who has a comment or question regarding this application, if you could stand up, state your name and your question.
Arthur Clark. My wife owns the property next door. I've been doing this stuff for 25 years. They're going to be processing stuff. What is their plans for silica flying in the air? I don't want to breathe that in. I've been in and out of gravel pits. I used to go in and out of Tilcon. You used to have to take freaking courses on it. I don't want that stuff blowing in. And Route 14, that road's traveled more than Route 12, so what are their plans on the traffic for Route 14?
dust control measures put in?
Well, it'll be the screening operation itself. During the screening, there was water sprayed within the screening itself. During times when it's dry, dust control will be substantially controlled by water on the site. I prefer not to use calcium chloride, but if necessary, I think if the dust conditions are such that the water fails to control the dust appropriately, they will for that as well. One of the other things that we could do as well is if additional screening would be appropriate, and if it's something that the commission feels is necessary to allow some additional vegetative screening to try and keep the dust on the site, we would certainly not be opposed to that either.
What about dust control on the stockhouse?
On the stockpiles themselves, once they're in place, they'll have to be watered if it's fine material. If there's gravel and rock and so forth, 3/4 stone or 2-inch stone, we don't really anticipate a lot of dust on those types of things. I don't believe there's going to be washing out there. Is that true? Yeah.
It could be.
It could be.
You know, it depends on if I do get the dust, then I would have to, it's really only going to be in sand, it's not stone.
Can you just state your name?
Ernie Colello, I'm the owner. I've been in this for 30 years, and that's the only way you get it, is from the sand. And I'm going to be dry screening, which you will have the spray bog, just dust in it. I'm not going to be washing per se, but it's just to keep the dust down. So you don't create these big puddles in your yards, just enough to keep the dust down. That's what I plan on using it for.
I think one of the nice features about this too is that it is a small operation. It's not like you're going to have 50 trucks or 100 trucks here a day and continual traffic and dumping and screening material on for an extended period of time. This is going to be on an as-needed basis, will be periodic, and based upon whatever projects Mr. Colello is working on or whatever demand he has for materials. So it's not something that...
And the material will be used often, so it's not going to be sitting. So when you get new material, it doesn't dry out. So my stockpiles will be small, not these big stockpiles will be sitting there and drying out. It's just going to be hauled in material, so you just small piles, screening it, making so much and hauling it out to the job sites and redoing it again. So it actually keeps the dust down a lot more than a big gravel facility that, like 100-foot high piles. I'm not going to have none of that.
No crushing?
No, I don't believe he's going to be crushing, it's just screening.
So this is just, this operation is just to be used for your own business, you're not selling this to other businesses?
No, I do want to create another business, along, if I end up having too much, I got friends that it's in the business that said, I'll buy some materials. It's going to stay a small operation because of the size of the yard, but for the majority, I bet you 75% is going to go to myself. As you'll probably see me out there, I'm busy, but I'm just sick of buying stone and sand. It costs a lot of money, and I have the means to make my own, and that's what I would like to do. So.
Was there any kind of traffic study done recently on 14A that you looked at to see the impact of the additional truck traffic?
No, I did not. The original DOT approved this back in 2015. We anticipate that the traffic is actually going to be less for this operation than what we showed previously for this. I did not get the most recent numbers for traffic flows on Route 14, but it is 14A, excuse me. But it is a state road, and certainly capable of handling 20 trucks a day.
Really? I live on that road, dude. I've watched people sideswipe people turning in their driveways.
So we're not going to have a back and forth debate disputing people's opinions of facts, but you're welcome to present your opinion, he'll present his opinion, but we're not going to have a back and forth debate about the...
Yeah, and traffic studies, really, you can't account for, for people's driving skills or driving behaviors. All you can really do is provide counts. That's what a traffic study will do. And they'll also be able to, they'll also look at the number of accidents in a certain area. They keep track of those as well. If somebody's driving 85 miles an hour on that, and the police don't stop them, it's an enforcement issue. It's something that we can control.
Hi, I live literally right next door to where all this is happening.
Yep, you will just state your name.
I'm sorry, Denise Taylor.
Thank you.
I'm kind of concerned, my oldest son is autistic, and the sounds, the noises, all of the digging and anything that, I don't know much about any of this, but I know that all the noises, he likes to go outside, he walks around outside, just back and forth, and there were times when there was digging going on that the noise scared him, and he would stay inside. He doesn't go outside all that often, so, you know, something that's scaring him, that is something that concerns me. What's the, you know what I mean, what's the...
So what kind of noise buffering will we be having?
Well, we will do we will keep the distance from the property lines as required. As I stated previously, if additional vegetative screening is required, we will certainly be happy to provide that if it'll assist in keeping the noise down. I mean, obviously, this type of operation, there is some noise associated with that. One of the things that is, I don't want to say nice, but better these days with this type of equipment is the newer equipment is a lot quieter than a lot of the older equipment was. You see some of these older ones and they're really kicking out a lot of noise, a lot of dust and so forth, but some of the newer technologies that they have these days, they are a much quieter running system and they do produce a lot less dust as well. So that's something that we absolutely have to be conscious of.
Hi, Jennifer Bowman, Topper Road. One thing I'd like to point out, you did mention the arborvitaes. There was an issue 6 years ago on Topper Road where people purposely tore down trees they weren't supposed to. They were told to replace them with arborvitaes. They were 1-foot arborvitaes. They don't grow overnight. I'm still dealing with eyesores. So if that's something, I mean, for residents and everything, you have to be reasonable and put in something more.
6-foot trees typically are
Yeah.
what we like to start with. We typically specify 6 feet or over to begin, and hopefully they grow fast enough. If you get the hemlocks or so forth, that'll grow a foot or two a year, and it doesn't really take long for them to really grow a nice string. One of the things that Ryan suggested too,
If we could keep side conversations down just for the recording and the record.
one of the things that Ryan suggested too, that we've also modified our plans was to tighten our spacing on these. We had shown 30-foot spacing, we suggested about 20 feet, which is what we did. And the same thing in the front too. We did remove the arborvitae. There are no arborvitae in front. We replaced those with spruce.
I'd like to add one thing.
Yep. Just
Ernie
state your
Gallo, landowner. If you go to the site, you can actually see it sits in a hole. It's all berm, so the noise factor, believe it or not, will settle in. When you drive up there, then it kind of goes back into a little hole in the hole itself. There is hills all the way around it, so it's actually going to help quite a bit.
So all of those berms are being maintained and kept?
They're all going to be grassed and...
Yeah, you can actually see here the grading, we've got a little berm here, and if they utilize this area we're showing the stockpile too, that's really going to help as well. If they stockpile the material up against the berm on the side, that'll certainly help in alleviating some of the dust and noise concerns that some of the neighbors...
So in the area that's facing the roadway,
Yeah.
is there a berm being maintained there and then the trees are being planted on top of the berm?
Yes, actually, yeah, because we've got a basin here that drops down to a basin, then it comes back up to the top of the berm. The trees are going to be on fire.
So if you drive by the property now and you see the way the driveway kind of cuts through a berm, guys, keep the conversation, we'll discuss. So if you look at the property now and you see the way the driveway kind of cuts through a berm, so those berms will be maintained and the trees are being planted on the berm?
Yeah, not the cut through, because right now you've sort of got this hole that goes right through this site over here. That's going to be leveled out, it's going to come down here, we've got the berm that the trees are going to be planted on, and then we've actually got 2, 4, 6, we've got 8 feet from the road to the top of the berm, with the trees on top of the 8-foot berm here. So the only place you're actually going to be able to see this activity is if you're coming from the east and you happen to look up the driveway, or if you're coming west and you kind of look backwards over your shoulder, you'll be able to see up the driveway over here. But with the screening and the berm here, much of this activity is going to be very well screened.
Did you have a question or a point of clarification?
I was just noticing there wasn't much distance between the edge of the driveway and the sort of property line. And I know that, is there a house on Susan Winter property?
Yes, there is. That's me, that's where I live. That's what I was just gonna say, literally, you can look at it out my son's bedroom window and you can see everything there. That's why the noise concern, you know, trucks and stuff, they don't seem to bother him, but loud banging, I do notice that he comes in the house. I pay very close attention to what he does, so it's,
We've got no screen
that's,
over here.
and you can see from our backyard.
It's like 200 feet of wetlands, big hole of wall, it's all trees, and then it hits our house, probably 200 feet away to our house.
So that is the property that's actually zoned industrial right now?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So what are you suggesting, Sean?
I'm just wondering if this driveway should be a little more, that should be more, you know, they've got all the screening over here, there's no screening on this edge. There's probably people have residents trying to stand in industrial. It's very distinct residents.
Mary Ann, what is the, if that was properly zoned residential, what would be the setback from that? I don't have mine with me.
What would be the setback for a driveway?
Yeah, there isn't one. Any other comments or questions from audience members?
Madam Chair, my name is Paul Sweet, and I live at 260 New Road, and I'm speaking for myself. I support the application simply because by special permit, you guys control the special permit. You set the rules and regulations, and they have to follow them, or you shut them down. And I believe that an operation like that should be stopped. If it's going to be hours on the weekend, it should be stopped at noontime. It should go beyond noontime. They mentioned already there's no crushing. There's very little noise in screening operations. There's probably be a little more noise with a loader, maybe. I know I'm familiar with that piece of property, and I'm pro-business, as you know, and we need to put people to work. We need the tax dollars. I can assure you that 14A does not have the traffic that Route 12 has, not even close. This is nowhere near or any stretch of imagination the size of Tilcon. This is a small mom and pop operation. And I look a little bit farther than that because, you know, and I don't know if you're going to allow this or not, but people in town have materials sometimes they got to get rid of. If you're screening things, and you're taking it for nothing, you can price it any way you want to, but for the homeowner, for the person in Plainfield, they need a place to go with overage, okay? It sounds like maybe this might be a place that they can get rid of it. Also, on the other hand, I would hope that you would treat people of Plainfield a little more graciously than you would strangers, you know what I mean? Give them a little break, if it's accepted. But you have a great amount of control over this, and they're not crushing. I've been around that industry a long time. I'm very familiar with it. They're just screening. That's not a loud operation. We're talking one screen. We're not talking a bunch of crushes. Most screen plants have a series of crushes that keep breaking it down, breaking it down, breaking it down. I'm assuming you're going to tail it, you're going to be selling tailings, right? I support the application.
So stand up, state your name and your question.
Jamie Trzeski Clark. I live at 107 Plainfield Pike, right on the side. My question is does it have to be 6 days a week? Does it have to be on a weekend? You know, and when I come out my door, you know, am I just gonna hear all this noise and see the plant? You know, I don't want my property value to go down. I'm working to get my property up. And with my foundation, my travel far through the ground, the dust, I mean, I am kind of worried about that because silica is cancerous. You can get cancer from that.
So we do have the ability to limit hours of operation, so that's one of the things that we'll, as a committee, discuss. So thank you for the comment.
I might add that, you know, I think the intention of the applicant is to be a good neighbor here. And if there are issues, whether if there are noise issues or dust issues or anything else, or traffic issues, I think the easiest thing to do would be, you know, to walk over there and talk to the applicant about this, and express your concerns. And I'm confident, you know, having worked with him in the past, that these things will be addressed. As Mr. Sweet said, you've got someone here who who is a Plainfield resident, who's done a lot of work in Plainfield and brought a lot of business to Plainfield over the years. You know, I at times said, you know, why, I even asked him at times, why do you do so much in Plainfield? He said, well, this is my town, I live here, I like to do things in town, so. I think the intentions here are to do something that's going to be beneficial to the community, not something that's going to be a detriment to the community, and hopefully you can be a good neighbor and you know, move on with the business in a manner that is a benefit to the town itself.
Just a point of clarification for myself, so we have one application, but it's really for two purposes, the excavation as well as the permanent material processing facility. So any limitations we put on this application will go for both uses. So in regards to hours of operation and time limits, anything like that is for both uses. It's a one permit for two purposes. Okay, thank you. Yes?
Arthur Clark, you know, what about slamming of tailgates? I work at night, so I sleep during the day. You know, I get home at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm usually in bed by 7, and I sleep until 2. Slamming the tailgates, Pete, you know, I need to get my sleep too.
So that's part of the noise buffering.
That's part of the noise buffering, and obviously, we do understand that's an issue. I mean, you know, I know they do their best to try and alleviate that issue, you know, without bringing the volumes down really quick, and allow these things to continue slamming back and forth. So, any precautions that can be taken to lower the backs as slowly as possible to, you know, allow these things to just settle into place rather than to slam. Would probably be the best way to do it. You know, that would be noise buffering.
Any other comments or questions from audience members? Any comments or questions from commission members? Any remaining comments or questions from staff? Okay, so hearing no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion on the public hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed. Moving on to our next public hearing, item B, Z 2018-1410 of Western Express Inc., requesting a map amendment from C1 and RA30 to Industrial 1 for property located at 1293 Norwich Road, Plainfield, map 5, block 4C, lots 13 and 13A.
For the record, my name is Paul Archer with Archer Surveying, representing Norwich Road LLC. Also, we have a couple people in attendance here.
Is it possible for audience to get a copy of that?
Absolutely.
Look.
No, I have some extra.
Thanks.
There's extras up here, if anybody would like them. All our handouts, there's a couple of extras. Like I said, good evening. For the record, my name is Paul Archer with Archer Surveying, representing Norwich LLC. Also in attendance with us, we have Ron Lowell, who's a member, and we have Cameron Vaughn, who is the terminal manager here. The property we're dealing with is, everybody's probably well aware of what it is. Now, a little history on this property was, back in 1946, this was purchased and turned into Plainfield Terminal Warehouse. All right, so this has been a truck stop since 1946. That wasn't prior to any zoning anything that happened in this town of Plainfield, this was there. Now, this stood as everybody probably understood it more as Moskowitz, the term, the truck stop that was there. And then in 2005, this got turned over to what was called the Signature Rental LLC, which was basically Northeast Diesel. Everybody knew that, okay? And in 2005, that's when, in 2010, 2012, if you remember, they came before you for a zone change, for Ducks Unlimited. And at that point there, they were gonna create a pond in the back, raise ducks and all that stuff, have some stuff. So that's when this got changed to commercial, went from industrial to commercial. But at the same time that was going on, they still, Northeast Diesel still had Peterbilt trucking and everything else. There's always been trucking in there. From there, Ducks Unlimited basically lost it. It went into a tax foreclosure and all that. And a guy by the name of Capanato bought it, and that turned back into a truck terminal. Okay, he had some metal testing in there, and he also had Peterbilt truck parts and everything that was sold out of there. And then, so what we're trying to prove right now is that since 1946, this has always had some sort of trucking outfit there. It was built for trucking. So now what happened is Western Express or Norwich LLC wanted to come to town, and they came in, they sat prior to marrying in, they sat with Lou, had the discussion of what was going on, and this zone change was supposed to happen prior to them purchasing the property. And for whatever reason, a lot of things were changing and everything else, it slipped through the cracks. And while after Lou had left, Ryan's not here, but they found the application for the zone change on Lou's desk. So that's what brought this to a head now, is to come in here for a zone change. Now, so what we have is if you look at the sheet here, you can understand that all the green colors are zone commercial, the pink is zone industrial, the light tan, which this is light tan, is all in the R60. So what I'm trying to show you is you do have industrial pieces all around it. So it's not like this would be spot zone to convert this back to industrial. Now, the only thing that we're going to do is we're going to go we want to modify what was actually commercial and industrial before. And if you look at this sheet here, it gives you a better understanding of what's happening. Now, so you can get an understanding is, right in this area here is a gravel parking area that's there. That was where they were digging the duck pond, okay? So when they left, one of the requests of Lou was, could they fill that hole in? All right, so what happens is, so that became the whole gravel parking area. So that is why what we would like to do is change the line from here to here, so that the gravel parking area that was the dump pond that got filled in is now going to be, they're currently using it for the truck traffic and all that stuff. So that's why what we're proposing is this here be the new zone line, being this industrial and this staying in the RA60 zone in the back, all right? So now if you look down here, you can get a little bit of acre. What we're dealing with is our whole site here is almost 13 acres, all right? Currently, as it exists right now, we have 7.5 acres in the RA60, and we have 5.46 acres in a commercial. By making this zone change, we're going to go to 6 acres in the RA60, and that's going to bump this up to 7 acres in the industrial. All right? So, and I really think if you look back into your plan of conservation in this town, one of the big proponents of the plan of conservation is to utilize the Route 12 corridor, to try to build that up to the industries and bring it all in. So what we're here for now, tonight basically, is just to be able to get this into the industrial zone. We understand that once this is put into the industrial zone, if you guys choose to do it, we would then come back to you with a site plan. Okay, that's the point that we were talking about, offering driveways, parking areas and all that, that's at the next step here. But the first step is to get this industrial so that what they're doing meets with your current regulations. And the biggest proponent that we're trying to show you and explain to you as this building here since 1946 has always been used for trucking one way or another. It always had trucking in there. So that's pretty much what we're trying to do here is just change commercial to industrial and add a little bit more of industrial just to take what the gravel parking was there. The majority of this here is in the RA60 zone, the majority is wetlands, okay? So it's not like they're gonna be able to spread everything into here, but again, that'll all be shown in the next step when it's similar to the second.
So just to understand, this is currently in this use, so you're requesting the zone change so that the uses that are currently being done are allowable.
That is correct.
Okay. And then the RA60 is not included in the zone change. It is staying RA60.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, you see this line right here?
Yep.
That's the current zone change from commercial to RA60.
So you're taking a piece of
A
it.
portion of it, yeah.
Okay.
And the only reason we're doing that, and that was more Wauregan than anything else, due to the fact that when they filled in the pond here, they covered it with gravel. So it just makes sense if they're using it, let's make it so everything that they're using is in the industrial zone.
So the remaining 6 acres is not in use and will remain not in use because it will stay RA60.
That is correct.
This is a public hearing, so if there's anybody in the audience with a comment or question for the applicant, yes, sir.
Martin Cooper, I live right next door to them. The duck pond's still there. I checked it the other day to see if there was any ducks in it, but there ain't been ducks in there. There ain't been no ducks in there for 5 years.
What we were told is they were digging a hole here, okay?
Yeah, in the corner of Perry's property.
Right, and there was a mountain of gravel there. So when these people purchased it, they were asked by Lou if they could fill in the hole that they were digging. Maybe they didn't complete the whole pond for the duck pond.
No,
But if the duck pond is back here, it's still not of use.
yeah, no, it's useless.
Correct.
All it does is keep water away from the well in the back, yeah. All right, no, I just want to say it.
So just for, Sandy Conroe, I live at 21 George Road, right behind this. Just for clarification, how far back are you looking to go industrial? And are you going to leave all of the land behind all of our houses residential?
Right now,
Right now,
okay, we're gonna start at the corner of Martin Cooper's and come straight across. The only land that we're changing to industrial is the land that is currently used, okay? There's a gravel parking area in here, okay? That's going that, and then anything basically to the west of that, which is all behind these houses back in here, is gonna stay in the residential zone.
so where Rory's land ends now, it goes into, the town owns a little property which used to be a pond years ago.
That's correct, the town of Plainfield owns right here.
So you're stopping prior to that?
Yes. The corner of the town's property is right here, and we're just coming straight across. And all we're trying to do is include all the area that they're using currently. We're not gonna add any more land than they're not using right now into the industrial.
I believe they're currently using behind the pond right now,
Anything that is gravel,
which is behind
Which
that
is-
pond, because that's in my backyard. They're
Yeah.
further back than what you're showing.
So have you seen the aerial shot of the property? Okay.
This one, this pink one?
No.
The aerial.
No. And then I do have another question. I spoke to you last week, actually, on the phone. I spent a few hours at town hall last week, and the map that they're going off of, because I see he's got cuts into my land, that's from the 40s. There was another survey done in 1965 on the Anatoba property, and everybody's lines changed, so I just want to make sure that you guys are going off a current survey.
now, understand, well, I have not done a survey out there, okay? This map came from a survey that was done back then. When we moved forth,
Back then, 42 or 65?
12. There was CLA engineers there.
And they went by the one from the Friendlies, they didn't go by.
When we come in for the site plan, I will do a current up-to-date boundary and give you my opinion of the boundary.
You said 1946, it's always been a trucking company. What was the population, the residential population in 1946 on Turtle Road?
In 1946, I couldn't tell you, I wasn't around 1946.
I do understand the reason for the laugh, but the reason,
But I will answer a question though.
yeah,
The subdivision on Topher Road didn't go in until 1970.
okay.
Okay, so when the original truckings went in, the subdivision, which currently you guys all live in, was not there.
Correct.
And there's one important thing I just want to make a point of clarification. When we are talking about a zone change, we're not going to have any kind of boundary line disputes. So if you have an issue with whatever survey is on file, that would be a separate issue from this particular application.
Okay.
So just for point of clarification on that.
And to further go on that, the previous owner before the trucking company, the best projecting of future behavior is realizing the past behavior. The town told the previous owner, don't do this, don't do that. He purposely cut down a bunch of trees, even though he knew it was wrong, it was illegal. Town said, oh, well, you better replant some trees, and we got 1 foot arborvitae's. Still an eyesore. Still an eyesore. What, 6 years later? So you keep mentioning phase 1 or step 1, next step, next step. How many steps are there? And what is each step going to be?
The first step, the way I see this, is to get this operation so it currently meets the current zoning. That's allowed. So the truck stop is now allowed in that place, okay? The next step is to come in, is dealing with what you just previously saw before us. That's a site plan. That's the site plan review. That's when you go over where the buffering's going to be, what the hours of operation are, what's the entrances in and out, what, anything like that, that's all handled at the site plan level, okay? That's when this commission here can put the restrictions on the site, okay? Right now, all we're trying to do is get it so a trucking terminal is back allowed on this piece of property.
And just one comment, when you notice things like that, like the buffering's not being done, report it to the zoning office so that they can do an enforcement action. So that's
Which
important.
we did do, and if nothing's done.
Then you can follow up, you come back in.
And like I said, in my opinion, the best projection of future behavior is past. And from what I saw in the past, the town didn't really care about the residents in Dover Road. So,
I'm sorry to feel that way. So when you have an issue, bring it to zoning enforcement and we will look into it that way.
okay.
And then this gentleman?
My name is Jeff Durgan, I live on South Street. So, you said once, if the change to industrial is when you will come to the town, and that's when they can put the limits on what you can and can't do. However, the company has already shown us that they don't really care what the limits are, because it's zoned for one thing, and they're already doing something completely different than what it's zoned for.
That's not true. That's what I
Hold on, we're not going to get into an argument, so you're making a point and asking a question, so we'll give him the opportunity to reply.
I apologize.
So finish your question, we'll let him respond, we're not going to argue.
I completely agree, thank
Thank
you.
you.
So, if the company has already come in and gone outside of what it is zoned for, I understand it was previously zoned for industrial, however, it's not now. So if the company wanted to show us in good faith that they were gonna go by the rules and regulations that this board sets forth, why wouldn't they come in, they do the change, and then bring this trucking company in, as opposed to do what they want to do, and then, oh, we're being called on it, maybe we should try and fix it.
Because what I tried to say prior was, this company did do that, okay? This company did come before the planner and everything and told them what they were gonna do, okay? They were under the impression that this was done, okay? And then all of a sudden, it just came up that they found out that it didn't happen. That's why we're here now, okay? They had come in and talked to the planner before her, Lou Sawyer, had the application was filled out, everything was done, but it was in the terms that Lou was in the process of retiring, Mary Ann was coming in, so there was, Paul Sweet was leaving, there was a whole bunch of influx going on, and you're absolutely correct. In the real world, that would have been done. It didn't happen. It slipped through the cracks.
How does this slip through the cracks though? Because was there ever a meeting about this application before?
The application was
I
submitted.
understand the application was submitted. Was there a town meeting like this?
No.
So where does the company come off saying that they thought it had gone through when there was never a forum like this to have it discussed? That again is the company not being able to.
Well, I can answer that.
And just state your name for the record, please.
Ronald, I'm one of the owners of the property. When we looked to buy it.
And the gentleman in the back had his hand up.
Yes, I want to say that when they dug the duck pond, they actually cleaned up the land. I don't know if most of you residents around here know, but there was tires pulled out there and everything, and they cleaned it up and hauled it off.
Okay, point taken. Thank
That's
you.
why I didn't do that, my husband did that.
Okay. So,
Many truck tires,
Okay.
years and years.
thank you.
Hi, it's been stated that, nobody will do what they're not supposed to do because the town won't allow it. But the previous owners did what they wanted to do.
So we are here to correct a mistake. That's why we're here today.
But can you see how the town doesn't really have faith in that?
But we're here today, right now, doing it, so. So I understand the difference of opinion, so we can only move from this appointment forward. We can't change what happened in the past, but we can move forward from this point. Yes?
So we're moving forward from this point. When the town figured out that they were using the property for a purpose it was not zoned for, that you said the town did not issue a cease and desist order. If you want our confidence that if they go outside of what their zoning allows or what the town is allowing, why did the town not issue that cease and desist order when they found out that they were outside of their zoning rules?
It's my understanding the zoning enforcement approached them for an application. When he went through that process, he did not issue a cease and desist. So I can't speak for his reasoning of why or why not, because that's not our call, that's the zoning enforcement. Yes, please.
Speaking as a certified zoning enforcement officer, I'm not speaking for Mr. Gray. When a violation is brought to the enforcement officer, generally, the practice is to notify the property owner of the error and give him the opportunity to correct that problem. And Mr. Graves did get a hold of Western Express, and they did immediately come in and make application. And the only time generally that a cease and desist is issued is when you have a defiant property owner.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Madam Chair, I'm also reducing the road again, for the sake of business, people jobs, doing things decently and in order. I'm on record that I support their application for zone change. It goes back to 1946, as far as I can find it, 46 or after the war. This place was built and it's been pretty much established as a trucking facility all those years. The subdivision came in later. I want to be respectful. If I don't live over there, if they want to build a terminal up on 260 New Road, or come up and see me. But the fact of the matter is, we've got people working, we've got tax dollars coming into the town, and we also see now the benefits of the distribution center that other businesses are locating here because commerce is growing in this area. So I support the application and the jobs and tax dollars that come in.
Are there any other comments or questions from the audience? Yes.
How many vehicles, how many trucks does the site support currently?
I mean, it varies at any given time.
So what is the maximum you guys can support on the site?
Can you state your name for the record?
Cameron Vaughn, what is the maximum?
Yes.
Not sure, we haven't tested those waters.
What are you guys looking to support with the site?
We want all of our trucks on the road so they can make money. Our trucks aren't gonna make money sitting in the site, so we don't plan to have a bunch of trucks at any given time sitting in the road.
But I can tell you right now, there's a lot of trucks.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we have the application of a zone change in front of us. So the specific details of truck traffic buffering zones, that will come along with the site plan.
How can we make an informed decision, or have you guys make an informed decision, if they're coming to us with this request, and they don't have any information about their site? They don't even know how many vehicles their site can support at this point, let alone how many they're going to be able to support once they make these
Because
improvements.
the first part is the zone change and the second part is the site plan. So it's a two-part application process.
So where's the second part?
That comes after the zone change is either approved, or if it's denied, it'll never come. Yes, ma'am, state your name for the record, please.
Ellen DeRozier, 31 Tilton Road. What is the difference to the town if it stays commercial or if it stays industrial or changes to
So
industrial?
the use that they want is not allowed in commercial, which means they would have to shut her up and get out. I mean, that's, in essence, what it would be.
Could your site support the current traffic that it holds if we don't allow the line change, and 13 is the only zone that goes to industrial?
I'm not gonna.
Again, no information.
Okay. But it was recommended by staff, that line, so that's just a point of information that the staff was recommending it because it was being used for parking. So the parking of trucks would not be allowed on a residential property, hence the request to change it to industrial.
And I understand, and that's why I asked if we don't change that residential zone and change only the spot that's already commercial to industrial, can the commercial site 13 support the industrial that they want to do? And again, they're coming to us with no information, but they want us to give them these steps and allowing them to make the next steps. The first step is the biggest step. Once you start, stopping a big company like Western Express isn't easy. So we need to know these things beforehand, as opposed to letting them get the ball rolling, and then, oh, well, it's too late because they've invested all this money and they're just gonna do it.
Might take it, hold on.
Just to answer your question about moving the line, as Paul said earlier, we're just following the guidance of the zoning. So we went to the zoning office to work with them, and this is that correct?
That's what we've got, okay? That was, the staff's idea was to keep the old gravel that they're using in the industrial zoning. Please understand that before, this has always been, I think it's been industrial far more than it was commercial, okay?
With all due respect, that doesn't,
All right,
that sure doesn't matter.
Sir, we're not gonna have a back and forth, and we've got some other people waiting to talk, but thank you for your points, they are on the record.
As a commissioner, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, to me, if,
Hold on, Roz, this is not deliberation part, this is public hearing
Okay.
part. So just be cautious if you're looking to state an opinion. We can only gather facts and ask questions, so just be aware, that's all.
all right, worst case scenario, the zoning could be granted and everything else could be shut down if this commission did not approve it, correct?
When they come back with the site plan, there are certain uses that are allowed by right within an industrial zone, but how they do those operations would be determined by our site plan review. So they would have the right to continue their business in an industrial zone, but we would determine how they do that. Thank you. You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Martin Cooper, that property, when Moskowitz built it in 1946, they operated that up until 1998. So that's 56 years of industrial use. And then it was changed for that.
Understood, thank you. Was there a hand in this corner? Okay. Are there any more comments or questions from the public? Yes, sir.
I guess my comment is, okay, when I bought my property, it was commercial. I understand, this gentleman keeps standing up, he's for it. He doesn't live in my backyard, all right? So I just wanted on the record that if they expand anything other than what you said, I'm against it. So if I'm missing something in here, all right, or I was misled, all right, I apologize for that, but, I won't come into your town and recommend something, I won't come into your neighborhood and recommend something if I don't live there. And I'm not against business, believe me. I mean, I support it, I fight for it, but, I want to make sure too that after my time, you respect me too, all right?
And sir, just to, again, to reiterate that when we come back, and I understand this is your property back in here, that in this piece that abuts you is residential, and that will stay residential for, you got almost 400 feet of residential land till it hits the new zone line, okay? And
Well, you say resident, it's also wetland, right? It keeps-
that's absolutely correct, but it's
So there's a
still
separate
residential.
wetland commission.
Correct. And we will be, according to the zoning regs, there is a buffer that must be put along the industrial line and the residential line, which will be in this area 400 feet away from your property. Anywhere that the industrial zone is going to touch a residential zone, answer your question, correct, that there will be required a buffer.
And we don't know how big that buffer is.
I think it ranges anywhere from 25 feet to
And
whatever they want.
we can approve a 200-foot buffer. Like, so we as the commission have the ability, so I believe the minimum buffer is 25 feet.
Correct.
But we can go as high as the sky. So that's within the purview of this commission to do.
And for you, they can determine what size trees get planted.
So not foot or, we will make sure that's, Jennifer, that has been noted.
Yeah,
That has
if
been
we were
We can move.
told, like 5 feet and above,
Yeah. That'll
Well, they
be,
can, and the other way, just to help you out, they can ask for a bond on the plantings like that too. So a bond would be in place, so if they did do it or something happened, there's a bond in place to put those trees in.
so then the town would take the bond to do it. Was there a question from the commission?
I got a question. All my paperwork from the town I got, part of this map says RA 30, his map's saying RA 60.
That's correct. That's a very good question. We have, part of it, we've had conflicting reports on that, okay? Part of the stuff that we get from the town says RA 30, some says RA 60. I have not been able to get the exact clarification on that, okay? If you look at field cards, some say RA 30. If you go to the town's website, it says RA 60.
So this is correcting that as well.
It's residential, correct. I believe it should be RA 60.
Yes.
what is the difference between the two, the 60 and the 30?
60.
So lot sizes.
Lot size.
So in an RA 60 zone, you're required to have 1.38 acres of land, and in RA 60 zone, it's significantly less than that. It's maybe 3/4 of an
Yeah, but
acre.
30,000
So
square.
it's the difference of,
Part two of that question, if this line thing was granted and they were able to do that, would this difference between the 30 and the 60 come into play as to what they can and can't do?
so the RA 60 is residential only,
Okay?
so they have conflicting maps. Some maps say it's RA 30, some say it's RA 60. So they're requesting that it all be RA 60 to clean up the map.
I believe also RA 60 would be more stringent.
Has bigger buffer
Absolutely
requirements.
correct.
Yes.
Hi, Ernest, just looking at the map, if you guys don't move that, I would believe that building would be still non-conforming.
Because of the line.
Yeah, and just to
Understood.
try to get the trucks around that building, I know everybody's mad, there's probably 150 buildings in Plainfield alone that's non-conforming, that's running commercial, industrial out of it. Till it gets sold, that's when it comes to everybody's attention and they have to change it for the next new person. I think this guy is a stand-up company, probably gonna go the extra mile for everybody, should work with them more than against them, and he has a ton of employees, I'm for it. But to move that line, if we don't move that line, it's gonna be a problem, because the truck's still gonna run over that line. And a terminal, it's easy to go around the building and just try to turn the trucks around. That's just my opinion.
Less noise.
Just with due respect, it's not your backyard.
Yes.
I'm Joe Sangerwell, I own 1221 Norwich Road and 1241 Norwich Road. I'm a business owner, I'm a business in this town. The truck terminal, I understand your guys' concern. The wetlands, nothing else can ever be done there. And the buffer, they made me put
stockade fence up and some plantings. So you guys can ask for some kind of structure, built structure to defer the sound.
Why change it then?
Because it really helps out the business.
Why not just change that?
Okay, so it's not gonna be a back and forth, guys, I'm
So,
sorry. So
I'm
he
just
has his
saying-
right to make his
Yeah.
comment.
I'm just saying, I understand their concerns with it. They're not real familiar with the fact of wetlands, nothing is gonna get built there ever, especially now. I'm for it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
In response to you, it's just...
Okay, hold on. This is not, hold on one moment, so point of clarification. If you have a comment or a question, please direct it to me. We're not gonna have a back and forth of audience members. He stated his opinion. If you have a differing opinion, which I know you do, because you've stated it numerous times.
Yes.
But we're not gonna have an argument or dispute of opinion, okay? Because we have to keep orderly. So if you have an additional comment you have not made tonight, please, the floor is open.
Not made, no, but previous...
Okay, still applies. Understood. Yes, sir.
Lee, again? This property,
Mr. Tolbert, further.
yeah, Mark.
Thank you.
This is my property right here. This is the road and then the South Street. Yeah, South Street, right? The only way anybody can get out of there to do anything, they have to get a right of way from the Tolbert family. So when we put that in, Mr. Bellamy, years ago, I don't know what people were using it, we put that to protect all the property owners there. Because we knew, can't build it. It's a space there, right? Let the town make a recreation out of it.
Okay, thank you for that point. Any other comments or questions from audience members? Any comments or questions from staff or commissioners? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Okay, do I have a second? All in favor of closing the public hearing? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, public hearing is closed. Moving on to item C, Z 2018-1408, Justin Minor, requesting a special permit for an accessory apartment on property located at 56 Norwich Drive, Wauregan, map 13, block 80, lot 59, 3030 zoning district.
Crystal Meyer, Justin is my husband.
Okay.
Here, we just want to build an addition for an in-law apartment and a garage.
One moment. Do you have receipts for the certified mailing from the Western? No, that's the minor. Paul, do you have the receipts for the certified notices for Western? Paul Archer. Mr. Archer. Paul. Thank you. Very good. Sorry about that. Thank you. And then Mary Ann, here are receipts. Thank you. Okay. And if you could just describe in general what it is.
It's a two-car garage and about a 600 square foot in-law addition.
And do you have a floor plan or a sketch or?
We submitted them already.
Submitted? Okay.
Submitted.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So we have the plan that shows the garage and then the 600 square foot apartment.
Right.
So they're next to each other. So they're level set.
Yeah, this is the existing house, so it's attached.
Okay. Any comments from staff on the application?
No, it meets the requirements that are there, some
Okay. Any comments or questions from commissioners? This is a public hearing. Are there any comments or questions from anybody in the public? Okay. I'll entertain a motion on the public hearing. All in favor of closing the public hearing? Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed. moving on to the regular meeting, so I'll call the regular meeting to order. And we have an addition to the agenda. We have to add the August 8th minutes to be approved. That would be added under item 8. If I could have a motion for that, please.
Motion to add the minutes.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor of adding the August 8th minutes to be approved? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, minutes will be added. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda? Okay. Citizen participation, this would be for any comments from the public not related to an already discussed application. Okay. All right, so moving on to the unfinished old business. Hold on, we didn't vote on your application yet, that was just closing the public hearing. Okay. No, I know, so public hearing first, then under the old business, we'll vote on the actual application. So unfinished old business, Z 2018-1395 of Plainfield Materials LLC requesting special permit for gravel screening on property located on Plainfield Pike Rd, Route 14A, Plainfield, map 17, lot 36, lot 68 and 68A, Industrial 1 zoning district. So points of discussion for the commission.
I personally would like to see a bigger buffer on that driveway. Driveway moved over and a buffer between that property and the apartment property. I agree.
So not the entrance of the driveway, but where the driveway comes up on the side property?
It comes up right against the buffering the other property, you should buffer this one also.
That's the one I marked up.
Is this only on that one? Is that residential?
They're all industrial.
So they're buffering that piece of industrial property, not buffering this one. So I honestly think that driveway should move over, adequate buffering between these two property lines.
That's easy enough.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So we would want buffering to be equal of that on the other side.
What would that be for width?
It looks like it's 25 feet, I believe.
I wouldn't hurt on my radius to turn in, because you can fit a lot in 15 feet.
Yeah, that's a wide driveway, so.
Yeah, if my eyes are looking at me, that's...
Oh, we should be fine with that.
The only other question I have is, he was talking, he's gonna have trucks coming this way, coming back out this way, and he's got tracking rock here, shouldn't it be over here also?
Oh, the tracking pad?
Or the tracking pad should be back here.
Well, that's gonna be paved at that portion over there. The tracking pad is coming off of the surface that is unpaved. So.
But I think the point he's making is the direction of the traffic matters. So if he is driving on the unpaved portion and then not hitting the tracking pad before he leaves, because you mentioned traffic could go in either direction.
Right.
So I think he's just pointing out that...
Scale.
It's all over this.
You would have to go over the scale.
So then we
leave.
Maybe we have tracking pads over there also. So that it comes off the truck before it goes over the scale.
So maybe you would go on the tracking pad before you would go on the scale, then right to the asphalt.
Now, he's saying that, well, it depends on the direction you go.
And when you come off the asphalt, you'd be going on the tracking pad, you'd be going into the site.
Right.
Going into the site, you'd be hitting the tracking pad off the asphalt. Coming around, you'd be hitting the tracking pad before it gets on the scale, because you want to clean yourself up before you get to the scale.
Well, it depends on the direction of the traffic, because the traffic can go both ways around the site the way that we've done.
So you will be a tracking pad before the asphalt, even if you're just dumping and leaving my own material, you will be everywhere on the
All right,
asphalt.
guys, so we just don't want to have discussion, that's all. So to answer his question of clarification on the driveway, it is possible to either move or adjust the tracking pad to account for the tracking. Okay, and it is possible to ensure that there's buffer on the other side as well.
Yes.
Okay, so we can require the buffer later. I did notice hours of operation, and if memory serves me, when we've had other companies, we have limited till noon time on Saturdays.
That's fine.
And then also, driving this road frequently, there are a lot of buses that come between 7 and 8 a.m., so I would like to move the start time to 8 a.m. Now, I know there was also a list of some requests about
8 o'clock for
8 to 5. What's that?
That might.
Yes,
Everybody opens this at 7, huh?
Excuse me?
Everybody, they're going G 7 o'clock. They start at 8 or 7.
I can't remember off the top of my head whether they start at 7.
I mean, everybody heads down about 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock or something.
But it's within the purview to make adjustments to the start time based on the area that it's in. So that's what we'll talk about.
It's such a small lot.
No?
Traffic's not.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'll be.
So I'm just pointing it out. 7's fine? Okay. And noon time on Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. So they had some requests for waivers that we have to discuss as well. So on the staff report, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waiver requests that were made. So the first one was in regards to the monitoring wells for the depth of groundwater. The comment from, are these comments from Ryan? Okay, so these are the comments from Ryan, that he felt given previous test holes, that additional monitoring wells, he did not feel they would be necessary. So that would be one waiver to consider. Then the minimum setbacks. So this is an industrial site, but I think we've established that the uses on the side, although they're industrial zoned, that's not what they're currently being used for.
Yeah, the excavation's kind of a site prep.
Because the minimum setbacks, he doesn't list it in here. Not really. And then the performance bond request, instead of the performance bond having the erosion and control bond.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest issue on the site, EMS.
And then fencing. So they're indicating that Ryan recommended fencing does not appear to be needed.
There's no big drama, actually. Are you going to put fencing along 14A or just a gate?
No, just the, it really won't be accessible because you're going to have about a 6 to 8 foot berm there. So the only way the site's going to be accessible is through the entrance drive. We're going to gate that.
So any other points of discussion for committee members?
I don't think the waivers are reasonable given the circumstances of the site. The fact that they need to get groundwater, most of those test pits.
Okay, so the waiver
They're
of
not 4 feet above it.
okay, so a waiver of the monitoring wells. Do all the waivers have to be voted on separately?
You can do them all at once, but you need to state your reasons for your action.
Okay. Which I think John just did for the monitoring well.
Do we have a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion that the monitoring well exception waiver be granted.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second on that? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so the waiver for the monitoring wells has been granted.
I guess in a similar vein, since the excavation that they're going to be performing is essentially site prep and not really excavating in ground, I think the waiver of the minimum setbacks is also reasonable. I make a motion to
approve that waiver as well. I'll second that.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so the waiver of the setbacks are approved. Okay, so the next one didn't look like a request for anything, it was just a note on the plan. So the performance bond versus the erosion stabilization. They have the estimate of $9,380 for erosion and sediment control. Any comments on that waiver? Or making a motion on requiring the control?
Again, since it's site essential, it's not going to be, an active long-term gravel mining operation. It's a custom activity. The performance bond that would be associated with the gravel operation, which is long-term, would safety, excess. And the main issue you're going to have on this site would be sediment erosion. So if the bond that they're proposing, as long as it covers all costs, is also reasonable.
Any other comments on that?
So
Approve the bond for the $9,380.
and waive the performance bond for gravel excavation. I'll second that.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so the performance bond is waived and the sediment control is required. All right, and then fencing around the site.
How much fencing should we use for the buffer? Increase the buffer.
So they talked about the berm, so there's a berm around most of the property. Yeah. But then on the side there's also. So then if they repeat that buffer on the other side.
How about a solid fence along the driveway instead of trees, like a 6-foot fence? Probably about the same cost.
So we could require the fencing on one side of the property, it doesn't have to be around the whole side.
You got a driveway 5 feet or something. Yeah. I don't know.
So the fence would be here, then you move the driveway over and put the fence along this property line. Solid fence. Because there's not, on this side, there's more of a berm.
Sound and everything. I think the fence was down.
Okay, so require fencing on the, is that east side of the property? Driveway side of the property.
How long, the whole length of the property?
300 feet before it starts getting steep.
Well, and then you have vegetated buffer in the back, so I don't have to worry about that.
Bottom of that.
300 feet?
On the roads and vegetated buffer.
I want to go all the way down to the road so you can't see it.
Well, and there's wetlands there, so I don't think that's,
So you'd be about 150 feet off the road it would start, and I would think that it would go 300, because it's a 600-foot deep property.
all right, so we have fencing on the driveway side, 300 feet. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to add fencing to the driveway side of the property to create a buffer.
You gotta go with 300 feet or just fencing?
What's that?
You gotta go with the 300 feet or just fencing? So 300 feet.
Right,
So we could put that
300
in.
feet of fencing.
Oh, we can put that in there.
Yep.
300 feet.
300 feet of fencing along the driveway side of the property.
And waive it for the rest of the property?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And waive.
because there's natural, yep.
Yes, and waive it for the remainder of the property.
Okay. Do I have a second on that motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. So So that should take care of all the waivers. So the application as a whole, we'll need a motion for the application as a whole, including the additional buffer and the driveway moving to the side. And the tracking pad. So we would need a motion with those conditions. Take a swing, anybody? You're all full members this evening.
Make a motion to approve the application with the following changes. The driveway abutting the Minter property be moved 5 feet to the west. An additional anti-tracking pad be placed on the, basically tracking pads be placed on both sides of the driveway where the pavement ends.
Were we having the tree plantings between the fence and driveway?
Yes. And that's it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, application is approved.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, moving on to Roston. Moving on to item B, Z 2018-1410 of Western Express Inc., requesting map amendment from C1 and RA30 to Industrial 1 for property located at 1293 Norwich Road, Plainfield, map 5, block 4C, lots 13 and 13A. And it should include the RA60 on it. It doesn't say that on here, but it is.
Proposed zone industrial 1.
Okay.
Zone C.
Stays the same. So we're not looking at that other part of the property. Okay. All right. Items for discussion on this application. So we're dealing with the zone change issue, and everything else will be site plan review.
Zone change preliminary condition, we're adding these correct, a little triangle.
Yep, so moving of the boundary line, that's the RA30 to industrial. That's the part of it. So the commercial is going to industrial, and then that slice of RA30 is going to industrial as well. So any points of discussion on that?
No, it seems like it works.
One comment I might add is, if we move this zone change, then maybe what they should do when they come back is move the lot line so that it matches up with the zones. You don't have a piece of land that's zoned a little bit RA60 and a little bit industrial. Just a suggestion.
There's no lot line there. The zone line.
It's one line?
It's one lot, but it's the zone line that creates it.
I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the assessor did that just because of industrial residential, but it is really a 13-acre lot.
Got it?
Okay.
So it's the zoning line, not the property line. Understood.
So what happens is, because you have two
That's okay.
zones on
We
a piece of
understand.
property.
We got you now. Thank you. All right.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the readjustment of the zoning line and rezone that piece of property from RA30 to industrial, and then the front lot, rezone that from commercial to industrial also.
Okay, and that needs an effective date since it's a map amendment? October 1.
October 1st.
Okay, so we have a motion with an effective date of October 1st. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so map amendment approved effective October 1st, and we'll see you through your site plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, Z 2018-1408 of Justin Minor requesting special permit for an accessory apartment on property located at 56 Lorry Drive, Wauregan, map 13, block 80, lot 59, RA 30 zoning district. So this was the accessory apartment and garage.
I'll make a motion to approve that. Meets all our standards.
Okay. So I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? I have a second. Do I have all in favor? Any opposed? All right, application is approved. Thank you for coming in. Hanging out with us. Yes, you are all set. Thanks. Thank you. All right, moving on to new business, Z 2018-1415 of Ryan Daler requesting a map amendment from RA 40 to RA 60 for property located on Pond Hill Road, Noosup, map 29, block 122, lot 63, and this does require a public hearing.
Make a motion that we schedule for our next meeting.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, public hearing scheduled for October. So we have to review and act on the minutes from 8/14 and the 8/8 meetings. I was not here for the 8/8 meetings, so I will recuse from voting on those. But I had no changes to the 8/8.
I had changes
I mean, 8/14.
couple.
Okay, which meeting minutes are you looking at?
I gotta look right now.
Okay.
8/14, last page, adjournment, spell my name wrong. And then, in 8, on August 8th, there's several places my name is spelled wrong.
We're gonna get auto-corrected. You didn't do it? Okay. We'll talk to Becky. Alright, so let me just...
Other than that, everything was right.
Okay, so... Alright, so we can all vote on the August 14th, and then only John, Sean, and Roz can vote on the August 8th. So I'll let you...
I was just gonna make a motion.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I make a motion we accept the minutes from August 8th.
I'll second that.
All in favor? The spelling correction. Understood. All right, so motion second, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved with the correction to Sean's name. So the August 14th, so the only correction I believe is Sean's name. Or actually, Roxanne, I just noticed on page 1, it says Roseanne. So I believe it's supposed to be Roxanne. And actually that, it looks like that error carried through for a couple motions. So Roxanne, not Roseanne.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes with the change to
Spelling of names.
motion that was made.
All right, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, so meeting minutes are approved. Correspondence.
Just the aquifer protection letter from DEP. They've accepted the revised mapping that the commission recently did. And a reminder for the October 9th workshop, land use roles and responsibilities from our grants. And also on the table tonight were hard copies of the revised land conservation and development.
Thank you. And the workshop will be at the end of our meeting, correct? Okay. All right, was there a report from zoning enforcement?
Not other than the written.
Okay. And is there a report from planning and zoning?
That's pretty much it.
All right.
And I did give a written report initially. I did not prepare a revised report because I don't like being redundant. And they addressed all my comments during, the application review. And Ryan's updated report reflects my comments, and I'm not going to waste paper.
Sure. Sounds good. All right. Anything for other? Okay, so just one note, Adjournment should be lucky number 13. So if we can fix that, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
We don't be changing.
So moved.
All right. Do I have a second on that motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. It's the longest one in a while, but it was still under 2 hours. Good work, everybody. Good work.